I mean, you're rolling.
Welcome back, fellow travelers.
And fellow adventurers.
Whoa, that's not Russell right there. That is Jackie Pruitt, my wife.
What's up, everybody?
She's here co-hosting, sub-hosting for Russell this week. Russell is out with potential flu, maybe. It's not COVID, we know for sure.
Russell, if you're listening, I'm sure you are. I hope you feel better, but thanks for the opportunity.
I know. He was really bummed that he had to miss this week's episode. We're talking about his hero.
We're talking about his hero?
Yeah, not Russell's hero. His hero, the episode of Adventure Time.
For a second, I was like, wait, is Billy Russell's hero? And I had a moment.
I think he would have been. I feel like if Russell had to speak in, and he didn't send me notes before this unless I'm missing them somewhere. But
he was supposed to.
Yeah, he said he was. So I'm just giving him the credit of he needs to sleep. He needs to rest. But I would have assumed that Russell's lovely would have been Billy for sure.
I think so. I think when I saw Billy's like surfer hair when he was younger Billy and like cool, rad music dude, I was like, could see Russell liking him.
Yeah.
I don't know who couldn't like Billy. Well, actually, I take that back.
What do you mean?
I feel like if I were to step into Billy's cave when they did, am I getting too ahead?
No. Yeah, no, go. Dude, you're letting thoughts flow. Go for it.
Okay. Thank you, Ned. So when I saw Billy's cave, I was immediately taken back because number one, I mean, it looked kind of stinky.
Yeah, it did look stinky.
Like Jake said earlier.
Yeah. Well, it obviously had some stink to it because the mini princess, Jake, was like, man, she's been stepping in something stank. And he's like, no, wait, it's Billy. So Billy definitely has some sort of old man musk about him.
Oh, definitely. And I see how he could be off-putting, but younger Billy looked pretty cool.
Yeah, we do kind of get some later in the show context about Billy, how he was kind of this adventurer of Ooh before Finn was. We meet Billy's ex-girlfriend down the road. We learn about Billy and the Lich, which the Lich's first appearance in the show was in this episode. So I thought that was pretty incredible.
Absolutely wild. Ned and I were watching the Adventure Time together today, and this episode, it was wonderful. And I remember when I saw it, I was like, Ned, is that the Lich?
Yeah. And I was like, yep, this first appearance, big time appearance. And I've got some fun facts about the Lich. But before we get too far into it, I think the audience does need to know a little bit about your relationship with Adventure Time. We go through the podcast. I'm the 6 times through the show expert, do my research. Russell's the noob, is getting it, all for the first time, bringing his context in there. So give the audience a little bit of your relationship and history with Adventure Time.
Oh, man. I would say it all began when we were in college and Ned said, hey, so I'm going to get a tattoo on my ankle and you have the choice between this snail and Jake the dog. It's like, that snail's pretty cool. I want to learn more about that snail. And every time I'd go hang out at your house, it'd be on in the background.
We did watch it a lot in college.
We watched it so much. So I've seen it through, oh gosh, probably 3 or 4 times now.
And I kind of sparsed out though. Like you've definitely seen all the episodes, but it was like you'd be like, oh, I'm on season 7, then I'm back on season 2, and like jumping all over the place.
Oh, entirely. It was super sporadic. So it's neat to be going through it again and actually in the appropriate order. So
yeah, the real order, taking it slow, digesting things, picking out all the little tidbits in the show. So I'm glad that this is your first episode. I feel like this is you haven't been on the podcast yet. You will be on the podcast more, but this is a good and a lot of meat to digest in this one. So in general though, like give me your high level, how did this make you feel? Like what did you get feeling wise from this episode? Like art wise, do you like the story? Do you like the characters? Like give me a little high up from above view
Oh man, Up From Above You. Well, I'll start real quick. With the beginning of the episode, actually, when I saw Mini Queen, I was like, oh, I'm going to like this episode because I like little tiny things. And she's like, I'm Mini Queen or whatever.
Yeah, no, like inaudible. Like,
oh, yeah. I'd like to think that's what she was saying, but actually I have no idea. So I just think that it's, adventure and, wild behavior and fun, crazy childlike things are Jake and Finn's MO. So for that to kind of be questioned with someone that they so obviously look up to, and to be like, or not necessarily violence, but like if I want to punch somebody in the face to help somebody who's in trouble, like that's so much at their core to have someone who they look up to so much. They were obviously fangirling over Billy. So for Billy to be like, no more of this fighting monsters. And for Finn and Jake just to be like, well, let's pursue a new way of life.
Yeah. And then they dropped it. They seemed to drop it pretty quick, but in essence, they couldn't. Like, because even their non-violent approach, they were like, we can't be violent, but we can make everybody else violent. Did you kind of notice that like,
oh, definitely.
They were trying to make everybody else the fighters while they were like the pacifists. So I thought it was like, you're not really even kind of following Billy's direction of violence is not the answer. It was just like, violence was still the answer, but let's hand other people the swords and the knives and the laser beam eyeballs and stuff like that.
Totally. And I think when they hear a new idea or something that's different, they get so excited, just like a kid would be like, this is something new for me to try, even if it lasts for one day, or in this case, weeks.
Yeah, we didn't really get how long it took them to set up shop at the gruel station. I did see it. Did you notice they had a little F&J sign above their gruel station?
No, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, there was like a little like storefront sign above where they were serving up all the gruel. And then that guy comes back and he's like, I don't know. And I was bewitched and it took me 3 days to outrun the dragon. And so it's been weeks. And we're like, what? That doesn't. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe they had to get some city permits and to set up a temporary gruel stand for these peasants.
I don't know, but I felt bad for that mountain man. He went through it though.
Yeah.
He looked a little singed and burned.
A little singed. Yeah, the guy that was like, oh, my stomach's on fire.
Yeah, who had to go to the dermatologist.
The cobbler.
Yes.
Yeah. He was I would say he was my almost lovely of the episode.
Interesting.
But, yeah.
Why is that?
Because he was just like, dude, he was just chilling in his little kingdom, little town, whatever, peasant town, I guess maybe would be how we would classify this one. Be peasant
kind
city.
Of medieval.
Yeah.
Gave me some medieval vibes.
But he's just doing his job. He's like, I'm a cobbler. Like, don't touch my store. You're watching my storefront while I go to the dermatologist. Like, he's like living a normal life, and Finn and Jake are messing it up, except for they didn't save him from the dragon. But, I was like, this poor guy just trying to do his thing and getting laser beamed by LSP. Like,
I know.
So he was almost my lovely just because I was like, this poor old man just trying to cobble things.
That's true. He did have some, seemed like he had some sweet qualities. I did feel sorry for him when he started getting that nasty stuff all over him after he ate the gruel. And that definitely played on my trypophobia. I don't know if anyone out there has that as well, but any sort of dots or circular shapes
like
altogether.
Patterns.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Not to talk about that though, because that's all nasty.
Because you're just gonna start getting sick of the stuff.
I'm gonna get real in my head about it, so I'm gonna stop there. But I don't know. I really did like this episode a lot. And one thing I actually wrote down, let me see if I can find it, a quote that Jake said that really resonated with me.
Yeah, so this segment we like to call the tops. The top, like what were your tops of the episodes in terms of like quotes, favorite parts. So this is Jackie's tops right here.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ned. Thanks for keeping me on track too. First episode here. So appreciate it. So from Jake the dog, sucking at something is the first step to being sort of good at something.
Yeah, that's awesome. And
I was like, you know what, Jake, you're right.
I know. I have actually a quote in my phone that I'm sometimes write down quotes that are inspiring, or if I'm ever having a down day, I kind of like to reference. And there was one, it was like, the master has failed more times than the beginner has ever tried. And I was like, oh, that's kind of like this cool thing. Like you got to start at something and suck at it for a long time in order to become a master at it. So I don't know. I don't think they wanted to really become masters at being a pacifist, but they were trying their best.
Yeah, and everybody starts somewhere, and if you suck at it and maybe things aren't going your way, try something else, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. We'll reiterate that point. We're going to do lessons at the very end. So kind of our overarching lessons of the show. So that's Jackie's little preface and preview into her lessons of the show. But I want to hit you with some fast facts. Lay it on me. Because I did a little bit of digging on this one as well. So I didn't know if you caught it.
Factoids.
That's Russell's line, Michael.
He's not here. Someone's got to say it.
Yeah, you definitely got to throw that in there. Did you notice that Billy's voice was voiced by Lou Ferrigno?
No.
Who was the Incredible Hulk in the first, DC Hulk show in the 80s, I think, in mid 80s. But you would know him every time we watch I Love You, Man, Lou Ferrigno is that the guy's, he's selling Lou Ferrigno's house. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was such an appropriate choice for Billy's character, because Billy's, like a pacifist in this episode. And he's a huge adventure warrior, ultimate beast like Lou Ferrigno is, because he's huge. But apparently in real life, like Lou Ferrigno, it's a sweet, kind, gentle man. So I was like, man, I think they really put some thought into casting the voice actor for this one. So I was like, that's awesome. And he continues to play it through the show. So really get great celebrity voice in this one. We go over, if we can find a celebrity in the episodes, we like to point it out for everybody. We talked about first appearance, the Lich. That's a big one. They kind of snuck that in right before the end of season 1, that there was going to be this overarching antagonist in the show. Super cool fun fact. Also, with the Lich, Billy is shown beating up the Lich really quickly in the Billy song, right? Mm-hmm. And he's wearing this gauntlet, which in a later episode, Mortal Folly, they mention that this gauntlet is the only way to hurt the Lich. So obviously Billy, defeated the Lich as per the song. But also in this flashback where they flash really quickly to the Lich, he does still have both his horns. And if you remember, he always has one horn cut off. And so this is kind of saying that presumably Billy defeating the Lich was the reason the Lich always has a cut off horn later in the show, So I thought that was a really cool, kind of canonical thing that Billy knocked the horns off the Lich. So that was really cool. And then last fact, because this one is a little bit girthy, is that you see every time Billy called his sword, he was like, "Nothing," and he said a word.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that seems like they have to be referencing something. And they were. It's nothing, and I think I'm saying that right.
I don't know. This is my first time.
Is from an old opera written by Wagner. And it was Sigmund and Siegfried's sword in the opera Ring of the Nibelung.
Oh my goodness.
And it's from the 1800s. Apparently this opera was very similar storyline to Lord of the Rings. It was a 16-hour long opera. Was super it didn't sound like it was very creative in that sense, but the sword that was Siegfried and Sigmund's sword in that opera was called Nothung. And Sigmund got the sword by pulling it out of a tree where essentially his illegitimate father or something like that had stuck it. And you can only pull it out if you are the appointed one. And I thought that was really cool. So when they find Billy's sword, sticking outside the mountain, and Jake and Finn pull it together and it opens up Billy's crack.
Uh-huh.
And they're the legendary Billy's crack. It was kind of, I think the writers alluding to Finn and Jake being the next chosen ones. They were the ones that were able to open Billy's cavern.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I have chills on my arms right now.
It was such a good story.
I'm serious. At the beginning there, when you're talking about the opera and stuff, I was like, 16-hour-long opera. Like, where's this going?
Yeah.
Sword significance, and boom, bam, Ned line knocked it out of the park.
Boom, bam in the ham can.
Exactly. That's super fascinating, and I just think it's so cool. And dude, props to you for diving so deep into this with these fast facts, fun fast facts, because I feel like I've learned so much, and it even makes me appreciate the writers of this show that much more.
Yeah, when you really look into if there's any cultural references or any like weird, they say a weird line, there's weird phrases somewhere, they're really pulling this out of historical, creative, Dungeons and Dragons, whatever it might be. There's always like a reason, I feel like, behind Adventure Time writing, you know?
Definitely, and it's not only adding, more depth to the characters themselves and the storyline, but just to the show as a whole, and how it's I feel like brought up even in conversations I'll have with people that don't know that much about it, but they've been like, man, I hear that show is pretty deep though for a cartoon. And it's
yeah, and you've gotten to those later episodes, and you do understand that, like, not even just like the deep writing or anything like that, but the life lessons and the stuff goes really deep later on too. So I know that you have that. I'm glad that you're looking through season 1 with us through the lens of knowing, hey, there's something deeper in this show. It's not just 11 minutes of like spazzy princesses and weird old cobblers,
Totally. It's not just beating monster butts and feeding hungry guts.
Feeding hungry guts and beating monster butts. I love it. Well, I had one question for you, like a little deep question.
All right.
Have you ever had somebody that you've like looked up to as a hero, like Finn and Jake look up to Billy, and when you're like, I aspire to be like you one day, and like somebody who, if they told you were doing it wrong, it might, bum you out, like it kind of did them,
Oh my gosh.
I know. I dropped an atom bomb question on you.
You really did drop a bomb on me. Oh my gosh. This is a tough one.
And we can come back to that. I can let you sit on that. We can open that up at the end of the podcast and see if you can dig deep and kind of find.
That'd be great. On the break, I feel like I might have to make a list, do some brainstorming. We'll take a walk around the block. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure I'll come up with it.
Take a few laps, Jackie.
Man, okay. Well, can I throw it back at you and ask you, who is your hero?
I don't know. I feel like I've always just had friends in all phases of life where you kind of have that one friend that you're like, man, they're awesome. Like, I want to be them. I remember in preschool, we always had friends, and we would like, I would always want to be this guy, and this guy would always want to be, and we all just like would change names when we went to the library. And so, because we all wanted to be each other. So we were like each other's heroes. And I thought that was really funny. And then, I think every phase of life, you kind of have like some person or some friend or some, person a grade ahead of you or 2 grades ahead of you where you're like, man, they're just awesome. Like, I hope in 2 years I'm that cool when I'm a freshman in high school or something like that,
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And it does make me think of a friend that I have now who just like is such a person of integrity. And I mean, I don't think I've ever heard her, speak a bad word about somebody. And she just goes about her daily life and, so well, and encourages people and loves people and for where they're at in their life. And I admire that. And it really encourages me every time I speak with her to be the best version of myself. I walk away and go, wow, how can I approach, a conversation, the way that she did? Or how can I take a negative situation and put a positive spin on it? So I think you're right. It's a seasonal thing, but it's cool to think about those things when you're walking in them, and who's with you, whether family, friends, loved ones, and maybe it's a celebrity
or Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah,
Gordon Ramsay from a truly godlike perspective. I'm like, that's Gordon Ramsay for me. I wish I could be him.
The bass is. I'm not even going to try.
The bass is effing raw. Yeah.
I hear that about 5 times a week, folks. No, 5 times a day. What am I saying? A week?
Oh, yeah. Gordon Ramsay's my Billy. Shout out to Gordon Ramsay. You want to come on the podcast? Come down to Nashville. We'll get you on here. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your feels on Adventure Time, man. But that is probably a good segue into a quick break here. I'm going to let Jackie take a breather. First time podcasting. You good? You taking your breathers?
I'm good. I might need to get myself a beer, though.
Get yourself a beer.
My hands are a little shaky.
Crack a cold one.
Crack a cold one.
This ad is for all of those who live down in the peasant kingdom. Come on down to Crazy Cameron's Crazy Magic Cobbler Shopping Emporium. We have cobbles and shoes that will blow your mind. The secret? We use magic nails. If you want weapon shoes, flying shoes, gun shoes, roller skates, skate rollers, and even normal shoes, we have them all at the cobble shop. So come on down and get yourself 12 pair today. Only schmackles a pop.
Adventure Time, Ned and Jackie are back.
We're going to sing some songs about Finn and Jake.
Yeah.
That's enough. That's all we got.
I don't know. I didn't know how it was going to come out. I just went for it.
Hey, sometimes intros, you just got to roll with the flow.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's how you got to approach life.
Got to approach life.
Am I right or am I right?
With the punches, man. Well, I wanted to lead into, got some notes from Russell over the break. He sent me a text and had a couple of points on this episode. And I wanted to share them with you guys, make sure that Russell's presence is still felt today, even though we miss him.
Yeah.
He did mention his first note was Billy's kind of like nihilistic attitude towards heroism plays into my theory from the last couple of weeks about how the Adventure Time writers are like throwing in jerks to balance out the Adventure Time universe. That Magic Man was a jerk, and not Billy. Wow, Donnie was a jerk as well. That and not that Billy's a jerk, but this like nihilistic attitude is kind of like doing this balance thing in the Adventure Time universe, where kind of for the heroic and the evil versus good and the fighting the dragons, that there's this like balance of, dude, Billy's like super nihilistic, and I love that he brings that up because that's coming into my next point. But I want to get through his points first too. He also had the same exact quote as Jackie, that sucking at something is the first step to being good at something. So you and Russell are on the same like wavelength right there. I love it.
Rusty, what's up? He hates when I call him Rusty. Yeah. I'm sorry, Russell.
Jackie was the one that gave him the name Rusty too, and he hates it.
I'm sorry.
And then Russell's last thought on the episode was like, Billy has a legitimate hole in his chest, which also reminded me of Ice King when Ricardio comes out of Ice King's like chest, and he just shoves him back in there, and his chest grows around Ricardio. But he says, I wonder if something happened to him that left him in this state of nihilism. And it is Russell, and I will not spoiler drop, but kind of how we talked about Billy's battle with the Lich. My theoretically speaking of the episode is that the Lich lost his horn in that fight with Billy, and the thorn impaled Billy's heart and left that hole there. And ever since the battle with the Lich, like Billy's been empty inside. Like the lack of motivation to go out and be a hero left after Billy got impaled by the Lich. And that's my good, theoretically speaking, building off of Russell's point.
Definitely. And Billy refers to it in the episode as a void.
Yeah.
That his void is being filled. Watch it.
Yeah.
Like come witness.
Come witness this.
Observe, like, not only, is this literal, it's also metaphorical.
Yeah. It wasn't just metaphorical, but he was like, literally, there's this void. And it was so gross. Like, it was like the sinews in his body is what created his heart, which was super weird as well.
I loved it and I hated it. I couldn't look away.
That's why you watch horror movies with me, right?
Well, yes. Sometimes I have to look away, though.
Sometimes most of the time you
plug my ears.
Well, going into that, I wanted to get your thoughts on this because I actually watched it twice today, kind of in preparation for the podcast. And the first time I thought, I was like, yeah, Billy's got this, Zen Buddhist mentality now. He's an old man. He's served his nickel in the adventuring world. He sees the full circle that no matter how many times you beat monsters, there's always more monsters.
Mm-hmm.
But then his advice to Finn and Jake is go out and do something good in the community instead. If you want, don't be violent. Do something good. And I thought that was totally contradictory to Billy's theory, because Billy truly, like Russell mentioned, is nihilistic. That no matter what you do, doesn't matter.
The monsters are going to keep coming.
So why in the world would going and just doing something good in the community, all of a sudden, like, Billy's encouraging that? If he's got this sense of nihilism that bad things are going to keep happening, then, like, why in the world would he be like, yeah, go out and, like, serve gruel to the people, don't do violent things? Because in his essence, his nihilism would have made him think that, you should go just be a hermit in a cave like him, because he just nothing matters. But he doesn't encourage Finn and Jake to just, go off and be hermits. So I thought that was, like, really contradictory for him to send them on this do good in the community mission when he doesn't even believe in doing anything himself,
I completely agree with you. And part of me wonders, was he just trying to get rid of them? Because he mentions later in the episode, when Finn and Jake return, he says, oh, are you like a door salesman? What
he
does he
says,
say?
don't sell me anything.
Don't sell me anything. So it's obvious that I'm sorry. I was really tickled at that. Because he obviously has a lot of people coming to his cave to sell him something.
And it was, I noticed that it was right after they mentioned, don't listen to old people, was the advice from the old person, was from the old lady.
Yes.
Is that they threw that line in there of, like, I don't want to buy anything. As, like, an old person sitting at the door, like, with anybody knocking at their door. So it was touting the fact that Billy is this old man now.
Exactly. And I do think, like, he was just over them. He's like, kind of like, leave me be, like, here's my piece, but sure, go do good in your community. Like, I don't really care. And at the end, it's all good. His void is filled, and Finn and Jake, ka-chow.
They restore his, like, faith in humanity.
Precisely.
I thought it was weird too that, like, the thing that restored his faith in humanity was, like, we saved this old lady and here she is, she's okay. Like, because we brought her with us. And I was like, that also seemed just like, oh, again, if Billy was, like, truly nihilistic, he'd be like, well, what happens when you leave? And this old lady goes back home and then she'll be dead tomorrow,
Well, he liked that old lady.
He did. He liked that old
I think he had an ulterior motive.
When she gets up on his shoulder and she's like, shoes and boots and shoes. She says something funny while she's patting on his shoulder.
Because Jake and Finn, climb on top of him, and so does the old lady, and he shrugs both of them off, and the old lady stays on his shoulder. And I was like, interesting. I thought that was funny. But I loved how Jake, she was just dancing on his booty or whatever in the cave. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh, Jake was dancing on her face, and his, like, feet were, like, rubbing her cheekbones around.
So weird.
Like, oh, it was like, I love that part. She's just, like, smiling away, and she's like, I'm a crazy old lady.
Billy's like, I'm old as well. I'm looking for a companion who likes the moonwalk.
Yeah, I want to know if she, like, stuck around with Billy in the cave after that. Did she leave the cave with Finn and Jake? Do we watch that? Or
I don't think she does. I think she stays on his shoulder.
Oh yeah, Billy got himself a new girlfriend at the end.
Oh, totally. He was, like, super into her.
Oh man,
I know.
That's canon right there.
I know. It's really too good. And but I'm trying to think. I feel like I had another point with that, but it might be flying in the wind right now.
I know. Well, I mean, it's just, I thought that was just a good point to bring up, that, like, nihilism is terrible. It's like a terrible state of being. And I feel like it's like this inevitable, you become old and either nothing matters or you hate everybody and I served my time and you don't want to contribute to society anymore. And that's like it's a bummer. And it kind of makes me, like, be self-reflective and be like, I don't want to be that old man sitting on my hoards of gold and just be like, yeah, society's still going to suck no matter what I do. So I'm just going to, crawl away into my home in my cabin in the woods and be an old man.
Yeah. And, like, sit with the remnants of my past, and just like surrounded by all of his old victories and successes, and just sit by himself in a cave.
Yeah. And if Billy was going to contribute to society, he would have gone and given his gold away. And
heck yeah.
He
would have done good in his community.
And that's what I was saying. That's why I was like, dude, this guy's just a load of hooey, He's a load of hooey. But I don't know, man. The last kind of point that I noticed in this episode is that it's super like hard to suppress what you're good at. And this goes into my lesson of the episode is that like society's going to tell you like, you need to do this. You need to, go be a doctor. That's a good thing to do. Go like, I don't know, like this is the definition of what good people do in the world. And this is how to do it. This is the rule book on how to do it. And a lot of the times that doesn't like cater to what you're good at and cater to how you use your talents out in the world. And I was like, if there's a lesson from the episode, it's like, don't let society or the world or your heroes or old people tell you that the way that you're serving society is incorrect,
Totally.
And your contributions to making the world a better place are just because they're done in a way that they don't agree with doesn't mean that they're wrong, Because, we could go like, me and Jackie and E. Russell are all like in music industry, and that's where our passions are at and everything like that. And maintaining relationships and being a light in that industry is a huge way. I see us kind of serving society in a standard, besides volunteering and being helpful and stuff. But like, that's that we're flexing our strengths in that way, Yeah,
100%. Like you can't allow society or, even mentors or, sometimes family as well. It's like they want to sort of define those swim lanes and they want to put you in a box in a way. And it might not look like a box, right? You can see outside the box and, you might not be able to tell that it's a square shape and you're inside. But like at the end of the day, thank you, Ned reminded me I need to be closer to the mic. Small side tangent. I'm back, ready to go. But all that to say is, what you're truly good at and where you shine, there are going to be so many people around you that are going to affirm that. And, dude, like, don't let anybody stop you.
Yeah.
Go for it, man.
You don't even need the affirmation. The proof's in the pudding, I think, like.
The proof is in the pudding.
The proof's in the
I've never heard you say that, and I love it.
You've never heard proof's in the pudding?
No. I've never heard you say it.
I'll start saying it more often if you like it.
Sure.
No, but I mean, I said proof's in the pudding because, Finn, obviously his best contribution to society is like saving old people from monsters and beating up bad guys. And it shows everything that good that happens in the episode is when he's flexing his strengths, and everything that bad that happens in the episode is when he's being told to fit this mold. And he's even trying to add his own flavor to that. He's trying to make these other people safer because they can be adventurers, and it just doesn't like that's outside of their mold. That's not what they want to be either. So I was like, man, the lesson is just like flex your strengths, go kick the world's ass with how you do it, with what encourages you and what you're good at.
Yeah, you do you, boo.
You do you, boo.
You do it to the best.
You do it to the best, man. All right,
I love it.
So we do a segment every time. It's one of our favorite segments. It's called Lovelies.
Give me some sugar, baby.
And I want to know who your lovely of the episode was.
Oh, man. It's pretty easy. I feel like you could guess it right away.
Ooh, well, you're going to say Mini Princess? Or the Mini Queen?
Yeah, I was going to say not Mini Princess,
not Mini
but
Princess.
Mini Queen.
Which again, there's obviously a mini kingdom, but they don't have a princess. And all these other kingdoms have princesses. So what makes you a queen? Unless she's married.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
if she's married, she's hitting on Finn. She's cheating on her mini husband.
That's one thing I liked when she wrote on his hand and she's like, call me.
XOXO, call me.
But I'm a sucker for tiny things. So I feel like if Mini Queen wasn't in the episode...
you can have an honorable mention.
An honorable mention.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it's the grandma.
Yep, that was my lovely. My lovely was my lovely was the old lady.
Tell me more about that, Ned.
I don't know. I just thought she was like she just got almost eaten by this monster, and she pops down and she's like, I'm an old lady, don't listen to me and all this blah blah blah, and she's like super hyper talking, and she's like just happy to be hanging out with Finn and Jake. And I was like, you're the cool one in this episode. You're cool. And she's like, I was born to be an old lady. And I was like, that's awesome. I love it. Just an easy lovely for me for this episode, for sure.
Yeah, definitely somebody who's being true to themselves and doing what they love, which is dancing and
being old.
And telling people not to listen to old people.
Which is herself anyway. So
I
know. I'd like, my note was, she just seems batshit crazy and I love it.
Oh my gosh.
That was my verbatim
she really
note.
Does.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I've given you my lessons, and maybe you just echo those. Is there anything else that you pulled out that was meaningful, or that you grasped and got a good hold on in this episode, or some more tops? Like, give me like anything else that just like was you hated the fact that the guy was spewing fire out of his belly button.
I hated that.
That was your least tops.
I also didn't like. It really grossed me out when they were falling from the tree. What's that guy's name again? He came back. The blob dude.
The blob dude.
He was all like nasty. And then Mini Queen, he had Mini Queen, the monster guy. Was there a name for him?
He was the swamp giant.
Swamp giant.
Yeah. He had like backward knees and like mushrooms growing off his shoulders.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
Like almost like a bird skull over his head as like a hat.
Honestly, I don't even know why I brought him up. I've instantly regretted it.
Yeah. No more lessons for Jackie. Just gross swamp people.
I don't know. I want to have that like childlike spunk that like Finn has. He's so excited.
Yeah.
And he's so willing to help. And
what's this? The fist of righteous anger.
I want everyone to know that right now Ned is looking me in the eyes and has his fist in the air.
The fist of righteous anger. That was my tops of the episode. Was Finn's like, oh no. It's a fist of righteous anger.
He's like, I can't stop my body from doing what it loves and it's good at.
I know. Well, I like that. Like, again, I think that is overarching about the whole show, is that like Finn and the whole show inspires you to have this like childlike sense of wonder and excitement about the world that we tend to lose as adults. And I love that. That's like how every episode makes me feel.
Heck yeah. And it's encouraging too, because like I just feel that I can walk out the front door right now, walk down the steps, and just go, hello world, and there's just so much to discover.
And there's so much to discover and punch in the face.
Yeah, who am I going to punch in the face tomorrow? It's going to be no one.
With a fist of righteous anger.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for listening to this very special edition of Never Ending Adventure. Again, I'm Ned.
And I'm Jackie.
And Russell is somewhere out there sending us his love. And we loved you guys.
Love you guys. Bye. Yo, 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 it's Jackie P on the tracks. Just kidding. It's Jackie. Hey, how's everybody doing? Thanks for joining us today. It was so much fun. The podcast today was co-hosted by Ned Pruitt and myself, Jackie Pruitt, and mix engineered by Michael Hitchcock.
We love you, Russell.
Oh, we love you, Russell. Rusty.